you work on something, they work something. And like the Satish and the many of the national
We need take to disable.
they try to build
It's for my
a
friend
C
Ono.
and the IGF and doing a job. That's one obvious necessary component. Okay? And the second area, should be publishing and the talking. Okay, and this is also very good area. And if I want to comment, I want to see many more people to make a more visible publication, including books. You remember Anna Ken? One of the things she's remarkable is that every time she worked on several years, she published a book. So by now she has 3 books, or she's working on those books. And we need those people. And lastly, working on the real world project. Try to address the problem. And here the lawyer can do it. Then fortunately we have 3 public interest lawyers. Their objective is not to make money, to give justice to their country and the community. And they are working so hard. And I really feel like, are we even proper those professional upgrade to them to work on their undertaking? And we'll hear what they are doing, and probably we may have a discussion. SIG, are we doing a good job? Or are we doing a lousy job for their professional upgrade? And this one will be chaired by the Kelly Kim, and of course she's a public interest lawyer who used to work in government, Department of Justice, and she decided to move to the civil society group to be a public interest lawyer. Would you like to start?
Hi everyone. Where's Baburam? He's still outside.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, I'm Kelly Kim from Open Korea, and I'm chairing this session. So we'll have 30 minutes presentation. So approximately 7 minutes each for each speakers, and then we'll have like 30 minutes Q&A or discussion session. So I hope it might, like law regulation, it sounds very boring, but I hope our speakers make it as interesting as possible. So first up will be Ono.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an engineer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an engineer. So my talk may be mostly on how to break the law. This is a story about the Wi-Fi liberation and the fight for internet for all in Indonesia. Okay, this is basically the online in Indonesia before the year 2000, and how we liberate Wi-Fi. Why we need to liberate Wi-Fi? Because in the old days, we have to pay $2,000 per access point, the one on the wall like that. Per year, we have to pay $2,000, so we have to fight. We still have a lot of fight. We have a lot of war right now. The fight is still goes on. So before 1998, 64K lease line, $400 per month, and we have to pay Wi-Fi for $2,000 per year. So yeah, we are looking at that amount of money. And the internet, we use radio network at the speed about 1.2 kilobit per second. It means 1 megabyte of file takes about 1 night to transfer. So we are living in that kind of area. We've used phone 40.4 and so on. Okay, this is our equipment. This is our gateway. The left picture is our gateway at the institute. Look at the floppy disk, very old, and that's actually our main gateway from Indonesia. Okay, and then Wi-Fi. We use WAP for extending the range of the Wi-Fi. It can go up to like 5 kilometers, and we publish books, educate the people how to build these things. So basically, this is a war between the power, the government, and the money, and people. People, we educate the people, and we can create the mass. Okay, and then after that, other country actually learn how to build this thing as well. On the left-hand side, the upper left is the article in Bangladesh. The central upper is my picture in Bhutan. Over there in Vestis, in Geneva. At the bottom left is we run a workshop in South Africa. The other one is in Harvard with Muhammad Yunus. So basically, international acknowledge, adopt, and that's actually creating a huge pressure to the Indonesian government, and then they change the law. So that's basically the strategy. Finally, in 5 January 2005, the minister sent an act. Wi-Fi is free, but it takes like 8 years to do these things. Okay, so the strategy we are 4 strategy: power, fail, we don't have power; money, fail, we don't have money; mass, yes, but it's still not strong enough. International pressure, that's the strongest one. Okay, we still a lot of homework to do. Neighborhood network, we need. I request for a phone number for the Indonesian. We still struggling with that. The Indonesian Ministry of Education, they remove IT from curriculum. We still fighting with that. And then the picture down there is actually we have built cellular network for Papua and rural Indonesia. It's illegal right now. We're still working with that. In fact, this morning I just received email from my friend. They are sending 5 cellular-based stations to Indonesia again, and we are still fighting how to struggle the equipment in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Hope all the best. I'm hoping you can pray for us. Thank you.
You have like 2 more minutes, so.
Oh, I give it to you guys.
No, could you tell us why you start the movement or how you begin to know?
Very quick.
He's a big celebrity in Indonesia, but there aren't many Indonesians here, so.
I'm a good guy. So basically, I'm an engineer. I know how things work, how to build these things. So I know how cheap it can be. To be honest, I'm a little bit upset how the operator works and set up the price and everything. So that's how I do the rebellion.
Yeah, but you are an advisor to.
Okay. Kelly. So before 2000, I was the advisor to the Director General for Telecommunication, because he what in English that's very difficult. Confiscated our equipment, my friend equipment. So I quit. And I said to them, I will not go to your office until this is finished. So 5 years, I never walk into his office, and we fight.
Yes, it's an amazing story. So next is Gary.
Actually, Ono teach me how to break the law.
Gary also from Indonesia, so
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Gary Nyawaditya. I'm from Indonesia and I work in OnnoCenter for the press. My organization has a focus advocacy in especially freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Before I explain about the internet freedom,
Can you repeat whole thing again? Because we're recording after this echo stabilized. Just wait about 20 seconds. Stop from the beginning. That way we can do the much better record.
For the recording.
Oh, you are wrong.
Recording. Okay.
I'll fold the microphone.
Okay, we can start. Yes. Okay. My name is Garinga Aditya. I work in WiFi for the press. And my organization has focused advocacy about the internet freedom of expression, and freedom of press. And in this year, my organization has a focus internet freedom cases. Before I explain about internet freedom in Indonesia and more about our regulation, I have to explain first about our constitution. And this is our constitution, 1945 Constitution, Article 28. Article 20E.3 and Article 28F. The government legislative guarantee and regulate this article to protect our freedom of expression and freedom of press. And this is Article 28, regulate and guarantee for the right to information. And this is our fundamental rights and our human rights and basic norm in Indonesia. Next. This is law number 39 of 1999 on human rights law. And this is the under constitution. And the government and legislative regulate and guarantee more specifically about the freedom of expression and freedom of speech in this article and this law. This Article 14, every person has the right to communicate and obtain information. They need to develop themselves as individuals and to develop their social environment. In Article 23, every person has the freedom to hold, impart, and widely disseminate his belief, orally or in writing through painted or electronic media, taking into consideration religious values, morals, law and order, the public interest, and national unity. In Article 25, every person has the right to express his opinion in public, and this includes the right to strike according to prevailing laws and regulations. This law is regulate and guarantee more specifically about the freedom of expression and freedom of speech. And this law start to regulate since the authoritarianism regime fall in Indonesia. And this is the limitation on the right to freedom of expression. The government and legislative regulate in Article 28G.2 of the Constitution, in exercising his or her right and freedom, every person shall have the duty to accept the restriction established below for the sole purpose of guaranteeing the recognition and respect of the rights and freedom of others and satisfying just demand based upon consideration of morality, religious values, security, and public order in a democratic society. In this article was adopted from the article from International Covenant and Civil and Political Rights, and we have the limitation, and this is the limitation: guaranteeing the recognition and respect of the right and freedom of others, and the second of satisfying just demand based upon consideration of morality, religious values, security, and public order in the democratic society, and this is the limitation. And then we start to I will start to explain about the internet freedom and electronic information and electronic transaction law. The law number is law number 11/2008 and revised to law number 19/2016. I'm not explanation or presentation all about the regulation in this law, but I have to focus about the freedom of expression and freedom of speech. That's it only. And this law is regulate all activities internet, such as intellectual property rights, personal data, and blocking website, and all about the all activity internet. And this is our focus advocacy. And especially defamation is related to freedom of expression. Was regulated in Article 27 about the defamation. Any person who knowingly and without authority distribute and or transmit and all causes to be accessible electronic information and all electronic records with contents of affronts and all defamation. This article was adopted from our penal code in Indonesia. This is regulate about the hoax blasphemy and hate speech in Article 28.1 and 2. Any person who knowingly and without authority disseminate false and misleading information resulting in consumer loss in electronic transactions. Any person who knowingly and without authority disseminates information aimed at inflicting hatred or dissension on individual and or certain groups or community based on ethnic groups, religion, race, and intergroups. This article was adopted from the Penal Code too. And this is about the personal data article. And we still don't have Personal Data Protection Act in Indonesia. The government and legislature not regulate it yet. This is the blocking content, Article 40. And the main issue of internet freedom. Defamation, blasphemy, majesty, has article and blocking the website. And this is the main problem of regulation. There is three problems. The first, the article of regulation is very multi-interpretation, especially with defamation. We still don't have category what is defamation and what is a critic or opinion. That's the problem. The second, after misuse to criminalization critics and opinion. And the third is unauthorized restriction of freedom of expression. And this is possible defense in the prosecution. Yes. And we do this defense when we defend our client in the court. And this is case, we handling this case, is senior case, the defamation, mostly Acho, defamation case 2, and Avani case, defamation 2, and this is Prita Mulyani case. And Prita Mulyasari case is the first case in Indonesia since the electronic information transaction was regulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. And next is Babaram. On his own case, he won a huge victory at the Supreme Court, right? Yes.
Thank you very much. Rather going through various legislative or constitutional provisions, I'm focusing on one single case that was brought in the Supreme Court of Nepal, which is related with digital data protection issues.
Voice.
It's okay? Yeah. This is the case where I myself and my colleague Santosh Sidel is also here. Can you please stand up and receive my acknowledgement? Myself, Santosh Sidel and Tanka Arya, we and Tarananta, we four people are petitioner of this public interest litigation, and we fought this for 4 years. First, we registered this case in 2012, and final judgment came in 2016. Background of case was like this. One of the Supreme Court judge was shot dead, and police was doing some investigation on that case. But it took long period for the investigation. Police didn't get any clue. Then police also collected some CDR, call details reports, and SMS. Whoever were around Supreme Court, whether it be lawyer or any other people who traveled around that area, were collected. 4 lakhs call details were collected and 60,000 SMS were collected. People didn't know about that collection because, of course, law enforcement agency secretary do all these things. And one day, one of leading newspaper published one news in front page that police collected these informations but didn't get any clue from this investigation. Rather than disposing all those content, police hold those contents in their office, and police personnel were using those SMS for phone and some other purposes. And that was when that was published in media. Then we decided to file a case. That particular incident, was a violation of privacy and data protection. Legal issues were that we have a very good protection of freedom of expression and privacy in our constitution. Now we have a new constitution passed by a Constituent Assembly, but during that period we had interim constitution. Even in interim constitution we had good protection of privacy and freedom of expression. And we challenged this case was violative to our constitutional protection from both the end, freedom of expression as well as from privacy perspective. Then court upheld our petition, though it took around 4 years, and final judgment, even after the judgment, final copy of the judgment came after around 1 year, almost 1 year. The major content of judgments were right to privacy is privy of individual and it is related to right to be alone. This was one of fundamental principle or precedents that established our Supreme Court of Nepal, that right to privacy is privy of individual and it is related to right to be alone. Another major judgment was that right to privacy denounces any intervention by government or any third party. That means right to privacy is protected. Any intervention by executive or any third party is violative to the spirit of or guarantee of the Constitution. And another major part of major principle that laid down by the Supreme Court of Nepal in that our case is collection of CDR, call-detail reports, and any other digital information stored in any equipment without due process of law is violative of the constitutional protection. That means in next paragraph, as another principle, Supreme Court laid down that you have to go through the law. If you don't have a law, legislative law, then please follow these directives. And Supreme Court laid down one principle that at least district court approvals should be taken for the collection of any CDR, SMS, or any information even by law enforcement agency for the purpose of investigation of a crime. So now after this judgment, law enforcement agency started getting approval from district court. Whatever jurisdiction is, they go to the court, and then a district court judge will allow within the scope of the investigation and complete the investigation, destroy the content. This is the case that we fought in Supreme Court of Nepal. If you have any queries, I'm ready to respond. Thank you.
I'm very glad that everybody's like in their time. Exactly. I'm Shali, and I'm a lawyer as well, and I'm working for OnnoCenter Korea, which is organization NGO in South Korea, not in North Korea. I don't know how many of you know that South Korea is the first country which adopted internet real name law system like 10 years ago. ahead of China or now even Russia. China now has real name policy for Baidu or their online website and internet websites. Anyways, so let me give you some background. So Korea, South Korea has very fast internet connection and all, and we had really vibrant online social communities before Facebook, or even before Google. So many people like to, comment online, post, blogs and all those comments online. And also there were many criticisms against the government, politicians, and also companies or the rich people or even celebrities. And the government, the Minister of ICT, as a solution to this defamation or instant online, proposed a plan to introduce the internet real name system. So if people have to comment under their real name, the government thought that people wouldn't, post bad, malicious comments or bad comments online. So in 2004, of course, politicians are they are the most, vulnerable or most sensitive to these criticisms or attacks against them. So internet real name system for online news media during the election period was introduced in 2004. So if you wanted to comment on those news media, on those news articles, you had to, post under your real name. And then the internet real name system for all internet website was finally adopted in July 2007, so it's 11 years ago. So as a form of newly amended Information and Communications Network Act. And later the law was named after this famous Korean actress, Choi Jin-sil. So she committed suicide in 2008, and it was said that she committed suicide because of those malicious comments on all those internet forums, and people thought that this law was really needed, to root out those defamatory comments. So we introduced this law. Oops. Thanks. There's no red light. Right. So identity verification. So state organ or government websites or public enterprise website or internet website or internet service providers who has a visitors of 100,000 person per day had to adopt identity verification system. And we Korea have a national ID system called resident registration number. So Koreans or every South Korean is given with a unique identifier, which consists of 6 digits of your birth date and your gender, 1 or 2, female or male. There's no 3 or 4. And also where you were born and other identifiers. So we were born with, we're assigned this unique identifier, this number called RRN, when we were born. And so this identity verification system utilized this RRN. So all these websites, all these internet companies, all these telecommunication companies had to collect our RRN, which is very, very important intimate personal information identifier because of this law. Of course there are so many data breaches after that and data leakage and breaches. So as of 2007 April, all like major website like internet portals, like Naver is the largest portal, it's larger than Google in Korea. They all had to adopt this real name system, internet real name system. So there was a fight against this system, of course, and there, we formed a coalition of public interest lawyers and digital rights activists and also internet companies, and we filed a constitutional complaint in 2010, and that's case part. And in 2 years later, the Constitutional Court struck the law down. So the Constitutional Court basically said that the internet real name system is unconstitutional because it violates people's right to, people's freedom to anonymous speech. But yeah, however, so it was a huge victory, and the coalition became the basis of OpenNet. So the people who were like the members of the coalition became the founders of OpenNet because they realized that we need a like public interest lawyers group who can fight against this, bad laws. So, there are lawyers who are there to comply with the law, and there are lawyers who are there to break the law or change the law. And so OpenNet was founded to the one which would change the law and break the laws. So, but however, we still have internet real name system for government agencies and public institutions, and also for during election, you have to post comments online under your real name. And also there are so many age verification requirements where you have to put in your like RRN and verify your age. And also in 3 years ago, mandatory SIM card registration law was passed. Although we had like telecoms just voluntarily did SIM card registration, but now we have like mandatory SIM card registration law. So everybody in Korea has to use the mobile phone under their real name. And so we are like challenging this against the Constitutional Court now. I filed a complaint about a year ago. And now, this era of fake news and disinformation, now all those lawmakers, politicians are now bringing this internet real name law again as a solution to the fake news or disinformation. So that's it. Thank you. So, any questions, comments?